Good evening. I'm Ernie Johnson. Welcome to Selection Friday. Now, March Madness sadly has been canceled. However, we here at CBS would like to bring you some alternative entertainment. We've worked hard over the last week to compile not March Madness, but Quarantine Madness. Our exclusive panel has scoured the country and found 24 of the top quarantiners in the country. Together, we've compiled a Quarantine Madness bracket. So today, please sit back and enjoy Selection Friday as we go through the 4 pods and rank the top quarantiners in the country. We're going to start off with the shelter-in-place pod. Each pod will have 6 teams. There'll be 2 byes, and we'll have 2 opening rounds. So let's jump right in, find out who our first seed in the 2020 Quarantine Madness bracket is. First seed will, of course, have a bye. It's a big ordeal. And after much scouring of the country, it's been narrowed down to one person to represent us as the top seed in this year's bracket. Lisa Bria has earned herself the top seed in this year's bracket. Let's see what Lisa's been up to that earned her the number 1 seed. Now it looks here like we have a sewing machine, some cloth, some fabric. I hope you girls didn't leave any clothes at home because it looks like they're becoming masks. Well done, Lisa. Congratulations on the number 1 seed. Hopefully you don't get upset. To recap, Lisa, of course, will have a bye. So let's move on to our number 4 seed. We'll also have a bye in this pod. The number 4 seed in the shelter-in-place bracket, Luke Pushkar. One of our younger competitors, but nonetheless fearless. He worked hard to get this bye. Let's see how he's been working. Well, although school has been canceled, Luke has been home studying profusely. Obviously, what we see here is just a short break in his study from home criteria. I can state for fact this was not taken in the afternoon and he wasn't in his pajamas all day long. Although this might have been one of the 3 or 4 times he watched Mighty Ducks that day. I think it's Mighty Ducks 2 is his current favorite. Luke, congratulations on getting a bye in the first round. Let's move on to our first head-to-head matchup in the shelter-in-place bracket. Be the number 6 seed versus the number 12 seed. And our number 6 seed is Jim Bria in the same pod as his wife. What has Jim Bria been up to that's earned him sort of this middle ground, yay, nay, not great, not terrible seed? Let's take a look. Oh my. Oh my. We have here a meth dealer, fully equipped, providing the good folks of Milford with their methamphetamines, or perhaps he's been doing some home repairs since he can't leave his house. Either way, you look sharp. Good luck in this year's bracket. Who will Jim Bria be facing? Jake Pushkar, our youngest competitor in the bracket, is going to have to defeat this drug lord. Jake, how have you been preparing? Excellent choice. Looks like a waffle with chocolate chips on top. A hearty breakfast for a young lad. He, of course, is going to need all the strength he can to take down the higher ranked seed, Jim Bria. To recap, we have the drug dealer versus the cute little child. Let's move on to the 8-10 matchup in the shelter-in-place bracket. The number 8 seed, Peter Stencil, another one of our young competitors. Peter, of course, has been staying at home as well, as he's being schooled due to the shelter-in-place laws. Peter, what have you been up to during this time? Oh my goodness. Peter's, of course, made lots of friends with every furry animal in the neighborhood. Hopefully they were all sanitized before they were brought into the house. That mischievous grin on his face makes him a fierce competitor. Let's sit back and see who the 10 seed is and who will face Peter. The 10 seed, Leah Pushkar, or Aunt Leah as Peter would refer to her. Let's see how Leah's been spending her time in quarantine. Ah yes, the depressing dual screens and what appears to be a card table. There's a telescope in the background though, so she can creep on her neighbors to ensure that they are abiding by the quarantine rules in Freeland, Michigan. Not gonna lie, not sure how Leah got into the bracket. Surely there was a better quarantiner than Leah, but who am I to judge? I leave that to the panel. Let's continue. To recap here, we have Peter, the 8 seed, versus Leah, the 10 seed. And let's recap our shelter-in-place pod. The 1 seed overall, Lisa Bria has a bye in the first round to take on either her husband Jim or the young Jake Pushkar. Luke also has a bye in this round, and he will take on the winner of Peter Stencil and Leah Pushkar, possibly his mother or his nephew. Let's see who advances out of this pod as the weeks progress. But let's move on to our next quadrant. No restrictions. This is the lower half of the left side of our bracket if you're keeping track at home. The 2 and the 3 seed will have byes in this round. Let's jump right in. So for our 3 seed with a bye, Larry Pushkar. Larry, how you been spending your quarantine? Oh, look at that. Appears to be playing with the young ones. We've seen these folks before, at least one of them. Larry, of course, down in the basement, where he does a great job sitting, watching the children play. It's really a great role. Larry, congratulations on that early round bye, but don't get complacent. They'll sneak up on you. All right, and our number 2 seed in the no restrictions pod also has a bye in this round. Who will that be? Pam Pushkar with the number 2 seed. Pam, congratulations. How have you been quarantining? But of course, the natural habitat for Pam Pushkar on the blue reading couch, or formerly known as the Molly couch. Hopefully all the dog fur has been cleansed from that couch, but you look quite comfortable as you quarantine. She'll get a bye in this early round, but don't go sleeping on Pam. She is a fierce competitor. Folks have said she was the fastest grade schooler at her school, regardless of age or sex. She also has a Wikipedia-like knowledge, so if the challenges become mental, she's sure to catch up. All right, just to recap, there we are. And now, our first matchup of the no restrictions pod. We have a 5 seed versus a 9 seed. Who will get the 5? Clark Hudman, congratulations, Clark. You're on the board at a solid, respectable 5 seed. How have you been spending your quarantine? Busy, apparently. Plenty of pallets to unload, guard dog out front to keep away those vandals looking to hijack any of the goods being delivered to the barn owl. Now it looks like we have quite a bit of unloading to do here, but you are outside in the quarantine, and that is something enviable, and we'll give you kind of the leg up as we proceed through the bracket. Let's see who Clark is taking on. Jim Harbaugh. Ooh, there's a surprise joining the fray. Jim Harbaugh, how have you been spending your quarantine? Chugging Milk. I'm sure there's a steak in there somewhere. Not sure how great a chugging milk is during quarantine. I know it can upset the stomach, but hopefully, Jim, you persevere and proceed to the next round. We'll find out. To recap, Clark versus Harbaugh. A matchup unlike any other. Stay tuned. Our next matchup in the No Restrictions pod, the number 7 seed versus the 11. Who will it be? Number 7, Nick Saban. Another college football coach. It's not surprising that these college football coaches are excellent quarantiners. They, of course, have that fiery passion to win at all costs. Nick, how are you spending your time? Fishing, of course. Who didn't predict Nick Saban to be out on the lake fishing? What a beautiful trout that is. Nick, good luck. And you will be facing Dave Pushkar. Dave, congratulations. You are an 11 seed, slightly better than a 12 seed. Let's see how you've been spending your quarantine. Well, you appear to be in a dungeon. Plenty of tools around. This almost looks like you're in the basement from Saw. Hopefully, you come out alive. Notice several screens going on here, but I don't see much work actually being done. Hopefully your quarantine does not last too long. To recap, that puts us at Nick Saban, the 7 versus Dave Pushkar, the 11 seed. And to recap our whole pod here, the No Restrictions, Larry and Pam with the early buys to take on either Clark and Harbaugh or Saban and Pushkar. A matchup so fierce, you'll be sure to tune in. Moving across the board, we'll move to the self-quarantine pod. Here, we have the number 2 overall seed will be the number 1 here. The number 4, of course, will also get a bye. Let's find out who those folks are. The number 1 seed on the self-quarantine quad. Welcome aboard, Jeff Stencil. A strong performance, I'm sure, to get you into that number 2 seed overall. What have you been up to, Mr. Stencil? Oh, that's a lovely setup there. Another card table making an appearance. Multiple screens. We've got a mouse, a wired mouse nonetheless. Keyboard, and looks to be some sort of pen trackpad situation. Surely the children are learning quite a bit from you during this quarantine time. Jeff, congratulations and good luck. You will, of course, have a bye, but don't get complacent. Again, anyone could win this year's bracket. And the number 4 seed in the self-quarantine also going to receive a bye. Let's find out who it is. Connor Hitchcock, a strong performance, I'm sure, to get Connor here. Connor, what have you been up to? Oh, that is a very artsy looking photograph right there. The antique chair, perfectly placed pictures. And what's that? Is that a microphone stand? Oh, but of course. Connor recently joined the podcast world, gracing the airs with his stellar takes and opinions on clothing. Connor, good luck in that first round. Oh, but you have a bye. Of course, no need to stress. You'll move on at least 1 round. All right, let's move on to the matchups. The 6 versus the 12. Coming in with the 6 seed, a strong showing for Mr. Zach Pushkar. Zach, how have you been spending your time? I'm sensing a trend here. The Pushkar children all seem to be wearing pajamas. I'm not sure they change out of their pajamas at any point in the day, but who can fault them? We're in quarantine. Zach, of course, an expert builder. You can see there with his Legos perfectly strewn about, his hair flung to the side, beautifully styled. Zach, although he has a smile on his face, will be a strong competitor. as he faces the 12 seed, Melissa Pushkar. Aunt Melissa, watch out for the little one. All right, Melissa, let's see how you've been quarantining. I wish I could say I was surprised, but when we did our research on Melissa, we knew this would be the state of her desk. Several bowls of food, a dented water bottle. What's that? Several cans, a book. There are screens. She does appear to be doing work. That's a good thing. Somebody please bring the money home, is what her husband, of course, would say if he were watching this show. Okay, well, that's a good matchup there. Pushkar versus Pushkar. Only one can come out. The next matchup in the self-quarantine pod, the 8 seed versus the 10. Here we go. We're getting down to the last few. Who is left in the world to make this bracket? And of course, the 8 seed, Denny Hudman. Denny, congratulations. We had no doubt you would make it this year after a heartbreaking performance last year in the conference tournament. You did not disappoint this year. Denny, come on down. Well, we have some questions for Denny here. First off, he does not look to be home. What? Oh, I'm being told that Denny has run away to the mountains during the quarantine time. He said, enough of this. Take me to the mountains, take me to the lakes. I will stay there. Denny, good boy. And Denny, who will you face? The number 10 seed, Bader Hudman. We've got dog versus dog, brother versus brother. Holy cow. Bader, of course, has been performing at the local theater. His best trick? Dead dog. Look at that. Shifty eyes, kind of glazed over. Tongue hanging out, licking the floor, which is not recommended during the COVID-19 pandemic. But he's a dog. She's a dog. I'm not sure. She's doing great. Good luck, Bader. 8 versus 10. That will be a matchup to follow. All right, let's recap the self-quarantine pod. Jeff on top, ready to take on either Zach or Melissa. Connor on the bottom there, ready to take on Denny or Bader. Matchups. We cannot predict what will happen, but it'll be great theater. All right, let's go to our last pod, the curfew only pod. Here we've got the 2 and the 3 seed getting the buys, the 5 versus 9, the 7 versus 11. We call that the Slurpee matchup. Let's find out who got those buys. With the 3 seed, John Pushkar. That is surprising. We weren't sure if he was even going to make it this year. Sometimes asleep at the wheel. Let's see how he's been spending his quarantine. Well, to no one's surprise, there is a pizza box. You can only imagine that John has gotten quite obese during this quarantine with a plethora of pizza being served to him. Free delivery through the fine people of DoorDash does make it compelling and quite easy to acquire. It's a sloppy setup. You're really surprised to see a performance like this make it into the top 24. We're going to need to talk to our panelists and see what exactly about this performance earned the 3 seed and a first round bye. We'll have to find out how he performs in actual matchups. All right, the 2 seed also earning a bye in the curfew only quad, James Stencil. James is a bruiser. Don't get in his way. He will run you over, he will run away from you, and you will not catch him. James, what have you been doing? Well, that's surprising. James sitting quietly, doing some artwork. Certainly trouble is brewing with our young man James, But for now, he's calm, cool, collected. Probably just resting up because he does have that first round bye, but watch out whoever draws James. In our first matchup, the curfew only, the 5 versus the 9. We have Krista Hitchcock. Krista, congratulations. How have you been spending your quarantine? Well, she's back there somewhere, hiding behind her young pup, fierce guard dog, Wesco. Krista, of course, covered in a blanket, working diligently on the computer. We can only imagine designing lovely t-shirts and hoodies and all sorts of apparel that we could be rocking during quarantine madness. You'll notice her desk slightly cleaner than her bigger sister, Melissa. That's no surprise. Krista, good luck. And your matchup is Wesco Hitchcock in the 9 seed. Well done, Wesco. What have you been doing? Well, similar to James, this was unexpected to see Wesco calm, cool, relaxed, covered in a blanket, just taking a little nap. Reports are Wesco is high energy, but this will be an interesting matchup because it does appear as though Wesco is facing Wesco. Look at the snout, pointed in the same direction, the ears. He's locked in. Krista, be ready for battle. All right, let's go. As we said, the Slurpee matchup, the 7-11 with the 7 seed, Becky Stencil. All right, Becky, congratulations, lucky number 7. How have you been quarantining? Well, stimulus overload. My eyes hurt just looking at the number of screens you have before you. Not sure what you need all those screens for, but apparently the judges really liked your showing here with no paper on the desk, strictly photos of the family on the screens, doing no real work. But apparently, in 2020, when you quarantine, that's all it takes to get on the big board. Becky, are you ready for your matchup? Because here it comes. Kelsey Hudman with the 11 seed squeaking in. She's going to be upset about this seeding. She really thought she should have been higher ranked. We all know Kelsey is a competitor, but let's see what her performance was to get her to this 11 seed and barely into the tournament. Well, that's not bad. Plenty of sunlight coming in through the windows, but it does appear that there is snow in the background. That is enough to make anyone a little sluggish, particularly when working from home. You'll notice we also have a wired mouse here. I've seen several of those from Jeff, who did get a 1 seed in this half of the bracket. And I believe Becky, her competitor, also has a wired mouse. We'll see if they can perhaps use those to overcome some hurdles of technology. It's good to see that Kelsey is hydrating. She's ready for competition. Ladies, good luck. Let's recap the curfew only quad. John Pushkar and James Stencil with the early round buys to take on one of the Hitchcocks, either Krista or Wesco, or basically just Wesco. And then you have Becky Kelsey, which people are saying will be the fiercest, most tightly battled matchup in the early rounds. Good luck, everybody. And to summarize, here is our quarantine madness bracket. Lisa Bria, the number 1 seed on the left. Jeff Stencil, the number 1 seed on the right. We will have these games covered live for the next several weeks as we work our way through this bracket to figure out who our Quarantine Madness champion is. And the fine people at DoorDash have advised we will be playing for $1 million. There is a $1 million prize on the line for our Quarantine Madness winner. Prepare yourselves. Hydrate, stretch, be ready to play. There are no excuses when it comes to quarantining. dedicate yourself. Thanks for tuning in.